Let me show you the best way to enrich your lead list with verified emails in 2025. First, let's take a look at what most people do and how they enrich their lead lists. They find a B2B lead database and they just export emails. There's an issue with this approach because these B2B lead databases are usually charging you per credit, meaning they don't really care if the email is valid, they're still charging you for it. So if you export a list of, let's say, 10,000 leads, usually what happens is only 6,000 leads actually have valid emails. Another 4,000 can damage your reputation because this is essentially a 40% bounce rate, and we should always keep our bounce rate below 2%. This is what most beginners do. If you're a bit more advanced, this is what you do. You find the exact same B2B lead database, you find another service to export the emails from the database, and you verify the emails. Now, this is a bit safer approach because out of 10,000 leads, you would realize after verifying them that only 6,000 leads are actually valid and discard the rest of the emails. Meaning the bounce rate here would be very, very low. In these 4,000 emails, some emails are invalid, some are risky. You ignore all of them and you just send 2 valid emails. This is definitely much, much better than the first approach, but still it's not ideal. And lastly, let me show you how Giga Chads enrich their emails. They have the exact same B2B lead database. They only export LinkedIn URLs. You don't export emails at all. Because when you start testing the emails at scale, you realize that most of these B2B lead databases actually don't have accurate information. You realize that most of these B2B lead databases are good for lead searches, building the lead list, and so on, but not very good when it comes to the email contact information itself. So what we want to do is import LinkedIn URLs of these leads. Now, with these LinkedIn URLs, we perform email waterfall enrichment. And I'll explain in detail what this process means. Email waterfall enrichment is the process of finding and verifying emails by using multiple providers until we find the valid email. Let me show you how that works. First, we use LinkedIn URL as an input here, and we contact one email provider. Just because this email provider gave us the email address, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's valid, similar to just exporting from the B2B lead database. So we want to use an email verifier. And there are 3 possible options or results of verifying your emails: valid email, catch-all email, and invalid email. But first, let me explain what catch-all means. Now, on your company domain settings, you can enable an option called catch-all. Now, let's say you have 3 email accounts under your domain. And let's say you had an employee who also had an email account. Now, this employee doesn't work for your company anymore, but you still want to receive emails that are directed to them. So if they have active subscription somewhere or something like that, or they were receiving invoices, for example, when someone sends the email to their email address, it automatically gets forwarded to your main email account. Now, this is what catch-all is used for, but it causes a lot of issues when it comes to email verification, because now we have no idea if this email is actually valid. So when you perform regular verification and ask if this email is actually valid, most email verifiers will just return a response that says, "I don't know." So they just mark it as a risky email, and we don't know if it's valid. Now, the problem here is that even though this inbox actually exists and it gets directed to your main inbox, the catch-all is enabled on the domain level, meaning every single email account under that domain will be marked as risky. So we have no idea if the inbox actually exists or it doesn't. Now, you can see why this causes a lot of issues in cold email campaigns, because if you're sending cold emails to a risky list, your bounce rate can get much higher, which can ruin your deliverability and your reputation in the long run. Let's go back to the waterfall process. We have valid emails, we have catch-all emails, and we have invalid emails. If the email is valid from the first email provider, we save that email address As simple as that. If the email verifier says that this specific email account is catch-all, we want to perform catch-all verification. Now, keep in mind, this is a completely different service than regular verification, and even behind the scenes, it works completely different. Catch-all verification can only have two different results. It can be either valid or invalid email. If it's valid, again, we save the email. If it's invalid, after regular verification, or after catch-all verification, what we want to do is we want to try another email provider. Now, after we send the LinkedIn URL to the second email provider, we want to perform the exact same process again. Verifier, save the email if valid. If catch-all, then catch-all verifier. If it's valid, we save the email, and if it's invalid in both cases, we use email provider 3. Now, this process can be repeated endlessly, and I personally use 10 different email providers, and I arrange them in that order where email provider number 1 has the highest percentage or the highest coverage of all email providers. I've decided the exact order after finding and verifying hundreds of thousands of emails. But generally, this is the process that you want to follow. You want to try email provider 1, then verification and catch-all verification, email provider 2, then again, verification and catch-all verification, email provider 3, and so on and so on. To sum it up, you need at least 3 different services here. You need email providers, a verifier, and catch-all verifier. The more email providers you have, the higher the chances of you actually finding a valid email. Now, here's the trick. Most people stop at this stage. They just use a regular verifier and they ignore both risky and invalid emails. But what we've noticed is that if we verify catch-all emails as well and then send cold emails to those leads, the response rates here are usually higher because most companies that do cold email usually ignore these leads, which means their inboxes are not as crowded as these ones. And finally, to sum it up, if you're doing your email enrichment like this, you'll live in 2016. If you do your email enrichment like this, you live in 2020. And if you do your email enrichment like this, you actually live in 2025. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you'd like to learn more about setting up successful cold email funnels, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'll be posting videos like this every single week.